Hey everybody, we are looking at Never Alone. This is Curtis from PSN Stores today, and so this game very quickly. It's only a few hours long, so we're just gonna start from the very beginning and play through a bit of it, bit of the opening here. And there's a lot of really cool things about this game, a lot of cool stuff going on. So you see this cultural insights option here on the menu. If we go here, so part of this game is the developer has worked with the kind of native Alaskan community to, as you're playing the game, you're unlocking these these 24 insights, which are, it's essentially like a mini documentary almost, where each of these are only a few minutes long, and they cover a wide range of different topics. And like as you see here, there's all sorts of different things here that it'll teach you about their culture and about their way of life and about their different beliefs and the different stories that they tell and they pass down through generations. And so as you're playing through this game, you're learning a lot about this culture of people who are native to Alaska, and it's a really neat way to have kind of the background of what the game's setting is presented to you in a really neat way, and we'll get a little bit more into that as we play through. So we're just gonna start a new game. So the story that this game follows is it's actually based on one of the stories that these people tell. Although in this game, it's instead of a boy, it's actually a girl that you're playing as, and so it's kind of a girl and her fox kind of story where there is this blizzard, this like just super strong blizzard that is just going on and on, and so the girl sets out to kind of find the cause of it. And along the way, she meets this fox, and so the fox and the girl journey together, and they overcome different obstacles until they find ultimately what the cause is. And so there's a lot of different kind of things that they find along the way, and there's different lessons that they learn. But as you're playing the game, you'll find these owls, and it's a pretty linear game. There's only a couple that you might miss, but it's the type of thing that it is very easy to, on one playthrough, you will unlock everything, and these unlockables are the insights that you saw before. So you might play through an area, and then the insight that you lock at the end of that area gives you a little bit more context about what you just saw. So one of the things that I do like about this is, if you were to just play through this game and there were no insights at all, it'd be pretty cool. And I would, for me, for instance, I would have had a good time. I would have enjoyed it. But I don't think I would have gotten a lot out of it, as far as kind of learning about the story and these people. Whereas I can play this game, and then so for me, like, I played through it, and then I went back and I watched all of these different insights. And as I watched the insights, I started realizing just how much detail and how much care was put into little different things that you'll see throughout the game. Like some things that you might not even really notice, while there are other things that are a little bit more prominent. But so for example, I'll be kind of vague about it, but there is a insight in that you unlock that talks about the way that they view the Northern Lights, and kind of the story behind what they tell the kids about the Northern Lights. And it was this just this thing that I never would have known And as I watched it and I listened and heard what they had to say about it, it was like, wow, that's so like that's cool. That's like such a cool like thing that probably very few people actually know. The stories that they would tell kids about the Northern Lights, um, and there's tons of things like that. There's a lot of like you might go through an area, and then one of the insights you unlock details something that otherwise, again, you just might not notice. But then as you hear them talking about it and you hear them telling stories about this one specific thing, you realize that there's like this whole new viewpoint that you have. There is a again, I'll try to be pretty vague, but like there's a kind of a person that you kind of see early on in the game, and when you hear the story about him, you realize like there's a whole like crazy backstory to these people you've met or you've seen. But anyway, so as far as the gameplay goes, it's a pretty simple kind of puzzle platformer, I guess you might call it. And as you saw there, I can switch at any point between the girl and the fox. So the girl, you know, she can run, they can both run and jump. If I actually, there are points where like the blizzard gets really heavy, and so the wind will blow against us, and like that might actually knock us back. So we can hold circle, and we'll kind of duck and kind of like just brace for the wind. And there's a few other things I don't know if we'll get to it, but there is something called the bola, which can be used. It's kind of like I don't really know how to describe it. It's a thing you can like swing and you toss it. And I think the way that they described it in one of the little videos was you might use it to like catch a bird or something if you're hunting. And so you use it in this game to actually like you can kind of break through ice, or you can activate certain like spirits, which brings into what the fox can do. So the fox can climb up walls and kind of lower ropes. He can actually do like wall jumping. But another thing the fox can do, and I don't know if we'll see it in this video because I don't remember how long it takes to get there, but the fox can like interact with spirits. And so there's a lot of points throughout the game where the fox is able to, if he gets close enough, he can activate this, like a spirit will appear. And you can use the fox to kind of guide the spirit towards you. And that might create like a platform that might almost act as like an elevator, lifting you to areas that you might not be able to reach. Or just act as platforms in general that you can cross larger gaps in. There's not I mean, towards the beginning there's not a whole lot of it, but later, as you get kind of later into the game, it's a whole lot about teamwork. It's about, you know, using the fox in ways to kind of help the girl progress through kind of tougher areas. I don't know why I did that. So you can't die in this game. Where you know, you can, if one of the characters falls into like water like that, you will restart the checkpoint. The checkpoints are pretty good. They're, most of the time you're not gonna have to redo a large section over and over again. So here are the spirits that I was talking about earlier. So I guess one thing, really, my one and only kind of gripe with this game is the AI can do some kind of dumb things sometimes, and it's really, most of it is is something that you'll see a little like towards the end of the game, where, for instance, there were times where I would be controlling the fox, and I would be trying to do some things to help the girl, like to position platforms or position different things that will help the girl progress further to an area that we need to get to. And because of the way the AI behaves, like they don't want to be too far away from each other. So there's a lot of times where, like, if I'm the fox and if I get too far away, the girl will start like moving towards me. And there was a handful of times where the girl just like jumped off the cliff and died. And like that was, and I was like, oh, but I didn't, like, why would you, like, why did you do that? Oh, that's another thing you have to be very careful about is when the wind does start blowing, you need to kind of take things pretty slow because it will knock you back. Which is, oh man, which is why you want to hold the brace button. All right, we'll hold it here. The later on you can actually use it to your advantage because the wind will blow against you as well. And so you can actually use that to like jump. The wind will blow you really like in the direction it's blowing, but then you'll be able to cross like really large gaps because of that. So that said, as far as like the AI frustrations, it didn't happen a ton. It was mostly, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't happen a lot, but it mainly happened towards the end. So it did get a little frustrating because it's like, you do have parts where there's a little bit of timing required. And because of that, you have parts where you're switching between the fox and the girl a lot to avoid different hazards that you might find later in the game. And sometimes the AI will just walk directly in harm's way, and there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. So that can be kind of annoying, but again, it didn't happen a lot. So it ended up not being a huge deal. Now that said, you can actually you can get around that because this game is 2-player, so you can do co-op throughout the game, which honestly I would probably recommend it. Once again, the game is only a few hours long, so you can very easily just kind of take an afternoon or it's a day that you don't have much going on, sit down with somebody, and co-op through the game pretty quickly. Definitely had a few moments where like the spirit didn't activate. Like I moved a little bit too quickly, and so the spirit didn't fully activate until it was too late, so I just kind of fell through it. But aside from like just kind of slight annoyances, the game itself is pretty simple, again, but it's, you know, it's about the journey, right? So it's cool. It's a pretty cool little game, but it really, the insights that you unlock throughout the game is what really adds a lot to it. So here, the girl has actually returned to her village to find that it is in flames. And we actually find that there's a guy who is here who's caused it. And little stuff like this, like what this guy actually represents to their culture and what it means for them as a people is just like really interesting. And it's even better because I think one of the very first like the first video that you have unlocked, it starts out and it's kind of it's one of the people that they're talking to, she kind of says that, you know, a lot of people view them as a museum, like it's just a these are people you would learn about going to a museum, when in reality they are still very much alive and well. You know, they're still around. And and so there's, once again, there's just a lot of stuff here where I know nothing. You know, going into this game, I knew nothing about them. I knew nothing of their culture, of their beliefs, or anything. And now, well, I'm not like an expert or anything. This game's not gonna make you an expert on that, but it does serve as a pretty cool introduction. And I think that's it's probably the big, for me, that's probably the big draw to this game. The game itself is pretty cool as well. It's very much in line with I don't mean to compare it to any specific game, but it reminds me a lot of games like Unfinished Swan or Journey, or even a Limbo, in a way, where they're pretty simple games, and as far as their gameplay is concerned, and they're only a few hours long, but it's a lot more about just actually going through the game and experiencing it and kind of seeing the story it has to tell, which is kind of the more interesting part about it. It's also like really nice. Like, it's a really nice looking game too. But I think that's gonna do it. So that was Never Alone. It is out today on PlayStation 4 for $15. And so I would recommend it. Again, it's only a few hours long. And if you can, I would recommend playing it co-op with somebody. But I really enjoyed my time with it. And again, like, I like that it included these different insights from people about, and just talking about their culture and talking about just their way of life. Like, it's a small little thing that ends up being like a really, really nice touch that makes this feel like a pretty cool package to have. And it's something that you can kind of experience all in an afternoon. And I think it'll teach you a lot. Like, it'll teach you a lot about these people. And it might even make you interested to go out and learn more, which is probably the goal of this game. But that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.